Hey guys, Marsingan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be doing the team building guide for the STR NAMEK GOKU, who's getting his EZA obviously on both versions as part of the download celebration. We are going to go through, as always, with my team building guides, the top picks and honourable mentions for building a team to take down this event. The special category for this EZA is going to be full power. So as you can see, full power, not a huge category overall. Had a couple of buffs recently. It's interesting with these two EZAs, I was expecting them to use the categories from the two new units, because obviously a lot of the time they do that in celebrations with these EZAs, because they're trying to push you to, you know, pull the new unit, obviously. But it seems like they've done in an interesting twist, which is good for older players and, you know, people who don't have the new units as well. The fact that the categories of the other unit that's EZAing are the weakness categories for these EZAs. So Goku's is full power, which of course the LR full power Frieza is a leader for. So as I say, we're going to go through the units, top picks and honourable mentions. If there's any units you feel like I missed out that I should have talked more about, let me know down below in the comments section. And make sure, if you do find this guide helpful at all, that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. So obviously I mentioned it straight away, but this full power Frieza is a full power leader. When he gets his EZA, it's 4 key and 150%. Pre-EZA, I don't know if I would use him at all. So obviously it depends on how you want to do things. If you want to do his EZA first and then use him as a leader because you don't have any other options, then, or any better options, then obviously that is one way you can go about it. But I probably wouldn't bother using him pre-EZA, even like just on the team, right? Because I mean he's never been that great pre-EZA. I do think his post-EZA he is actually quite good, but I think if you're not going to do his EZA first, I don't think he's that worth using on the team. Because also remember, in EZAs you cannot use same name units. That we're going to cover that in a minute. And the other thing to mention as well, you look at the size of the category in this event. While no specific typing is going to get a massive damage reduction, all super type units have the 80% damage reduction in this event. So you can't really bring super units. You can bring super units and they'd still be good defensively. Like for example, you know, Kale and Caulifla, they get their guaranteed additional supers against Pure Saiyans. They raise their defense and dodge chance each time they are getting off their attacks, but they're just not going to do any damage to him once you get past stage 20. So bear that in mind. You do want to run a full extreme team. And of course, as always, because it is a Pure Saiyan that we're fighting, we can't really go without mentioning Tech Caulifla and Tech God Goku. Those are obviously going to be very good defensive units, even if they're not on the leader skill for this particular EZA. But if I don't mention them in an EZA against a Pure Saiyan, someone will always mention them in the comments. But yeah, so you could use this guy once you've EZA'd him as the leader. This Goku, of course, got his EZA recently and is the full power leader for a full 170. Now, he is a super type, so obviously that means he's not going to be doing a lot of damage. But you could run him as the leader. Because he raises defense on super, he's going to be fine in slot 3. He gets his super attack off, and then if he takes some hits, he will be able to defend reasonably well. So if you just want him for the full leader skill, then he definitely is a good pick for the leader. Because then when it comes to straight up full power category leaders, the only other one is the Dragon Ball Super Broly. And he's aged out quite a bit, right? So I can imagine, especially when you get to the later stages, he could start taking a bit of damage from Namek Goku, especially from a super. And he's also type disadvantaged, so he's not going to be doing a lot of damage anyway, unless you are getting crits. So probably last resort to use as your leader. Now, the one I wanted to talk about straight away that I'm sure many people are already thinking of is this AGL full power Frieza. Now, if you look down the list of full power units, there are a lot of sworn enemies characters, because there are a lot of Friezas that are on full power. So I feel like the most effective way to run a team for this EZA is just going to be double AGL full power Friezas, and then just use a full sworn enemies or Planet Namek Saga team. Because obviously this guy, you get guaranteed crits against Goku. So, I mean, he's just made for, like, he's going to be destroying this event. And remember that his active skill, when facing only one enemy who is a super class and 30% or less HP, has no turn restriction. So, you know, turn 1, you do a crazy amount of damage to Goku, and then turn 2, you have a Frieza, and then boom, active skill, you win. On to the next stage. So, this guy, definitely a must run. I feel like even if you have Easy Aid this guy already, if you have this guy, you should just be using him. And he is probably the best lead as well, because you can run a full Frieza team. Now, we're going to cover a lot of units that aren't Friezas, so it depends whether you can build that team or not. But this guy's a must-run on the team if you actually have him. So, next up we have for JP only, the LR AGL Golden Frieza. Basically, it goes without saying, he's a super good tank. He can actually do good damage. Like, obviously, he's an LR. So, you know, it goes without saying, really. He is just a top pick for the team. He has an active skill, but you have to be on 50% or less HP, which, you know, if you are running like the full Frieza build team, you're probably not going to struggle that much. But this guy's just there to be the ultimate slot 1 tank. And then, of course, as we've already said, you can't use same name units. So if you don't have the LR, whether it be because you didn't pull him or because you're not on JP, you also have the option for the AGL one. And he's going to fulfill the same role, obviously. He's just there to be a slot 1 tank. He doesn't really do crazy damage, but, you know, he's not going to take damage from anything. And then, of course, there is the tech one. Now, Easy A's are not the hardest content, so even though his damage reduction is less than the AGL and he doesn't have type advantage, he will still tank perfectly fine in this Easy A. And he does do more damage than the AGL one. So I think, honestly, I would probably bring him over the AGL one. But if you have both, you can always try it out. Maybe alternate between one or the other between 2 stages back to back and see who actually like does the most damage. See whether, you know, this guy gets hit with a super. I guess if you have more dupes in one or the other, then that's an easy way to decide which one to bring as well. But one of the 3 Golden Friezas, depending on which one you have, is obviously going to be a top pick for a defensive unit. So next up we have the Tech Transforming Frieza. Again, going to be crazy good for this. He has an extreme class leader skill, so if you don't have a full power lead and you want to run some of the other full power units who aren't on like AGL full power Frieza's leader skill, you could always use this guy as a stand-in. And then it allows you to at least build the team with any extreme type units. You're not going to see many of his transformations because obviously the Easy A events don't last super long, but obviously he does get extra ki as well as a little buff when attacking superclass enemies. He recovers HP at the start of the turn, so just another straightforward, very good unit for this event that fits in very nicely with the other Frieza units that you can be running on the team. And then, of course, we have the INT Angel Golden Frieza. I thought I'd give him an honourable mention just for JP, because he does have his Easy A. And whilst everybody complained about how bad his Easy A was when it came out, for something like this, he'll be perfectly fine. He greatly raises defense on his super attack. He does do immense damage. He lowers the attack of superclass allies and enemies, but you're not going to be really running any superclass allies since they don't do any damage anyway. And you can't lower the enemy's attack in this event. So this part of his passive is basically pointless, and it doesn't really matter that it has the slight negative. But he also gets an additional attack and defense 100% when facing a superclass enemy, which obviously you are. So, you know, if you need that extra, like, last slot on the team, and you're on JP and you don't know who to bring, this guy can quite easily just be a 3rd slot floating unit, because he's raising his defense on super, so it's not like he's going to get absolutely destroyed at the end of the turn. So he is a fine option if you're on JP. If you're not on JP, I wouldn't probably recommend bringing this guy at all, but it is what it is. So next up we have our boy. I've been talking about him a lot lately because of how great he is in the Cell Max event. Obviously the INT Broly, because we're fighting against a Pure Saiyan, you get that extra damage reduction and the extra potential super attack. So in the early stages, if you get good RNG, like this guy can easily just take out Goku all by himself in those first couple of phases. They're obviously easier. And then even later on, he's going to be doing pretty big chunks of Goku's health all by himself. So definitely a top pick for this event. Doesn't matter that he's only type neutral, because he has, like I say, built-in damage reduction. Once he's gotten a couple of supers off, he's going to be tanking, even at like stage 30, he's going to be tanking everything but a super for like double digits once he's gotten his super attacks off on that first turn. So definitely a very good option. Doesn't link super well with the rest of the team, especially if you're running a lot of Friezas, but he gives himself ki in his passive, and even if you can't hit enough ki to get his initial super, because he has the chance to do all of those additionals, he's potentially still going to get some super attacks off anyway. So definitely a very good pick for this event. So next up we have the STR Bojack. I don't know, can you make a team with space traveling warriors and time travelers that are full power? You probably could. But even so, he'll be good on the team, raise attack and defense on super. He does give a buff to space traveling warriors allies if you have any. And all in all, he's just an honourable mention. He'll be like a third slot floating unit, but, you know, he's a decent unit, raises defense on super, so in slot 3, he should be perfectly fine for anything other than, like, tanking a super on the later stages. But, yeah, he's a decent option to add into that team as a slot filler. I would say, though, if you've put 5 units on the team already and you don't really know who to put in that final slot, that's where you would then obviously consider putting in, like, Tech Caulifla or Tech God Goku, but at least this guy will actually be able to do damage, unlike them. So, and then, of course, we have the INT Bojack, and if you want to run the 2 of them together, that makes a pretty good rotation. This guy has aged very well, even though he's starting to age out defensively for some of the more difficult content. In something like this, an easy A, like, this guy's going to be great. Get him next to the STR Bojack, hit his 18 key super, he's going to be doing tons of damage. And so then, yeah, that would be a good rotation to run for this event, these 2 together. Then we have our queen, Android 21, had to mention her. Her easy A is okay. I've seen a lot of people saying it's really bad. I definitely don't think it's like a really good easy A, but I do think it gets a little bit too much slander. For something like this easy A, she's going to be very good because, again, like Broly, she gives herself key, so it doesn't matter if she doesn't link up super well with the rest of the team. But she heals on super attack, which is obviously very good. She can do decent damage, and then, of course, you have the chance to transform from turn 4, and then you start healing at the start of the turn. But in an easy A, you're not necessarily even going to get to turn 4. But she's a decent option as well as a final pick for the team. And then last but not least, we have the Omega Shenron. Now, he does have type disadvantage, but obviously his easy A, he is very good. He's another unit that I would say you could just put in slot 3 and have him floating, and he'll do decent damage in that final slot. He does have big bad bosses, so obviously you can proc that with some of the freezers, and then this guy can potentially be doing a very solid amount of damage. So he's a decent honourable mention. So if we go back and look at the list, I'm trying to think of anyone that we potentially missed. I didn't cover any super type units because, like I said, you can't really do a lot of damage with them. You could potentially just, like, power your way through with a full AGL, full power team, but, like, you'll be doing so little damage. I say power your way through. Like, you're basically just hoping that because you're using AGL units, he's not going to be doing a lot of damage to you, but then it's going to take you multiple turns to actually finish him off. So I wouldn't recommend any super types. I guess STR Broly could be okay just for outputting tons of damage, but his defense is obviously not going to be the best. But again, early stages of easy A's, not that difficult, so you probably could get away with it. The INT cell, bit outdated now. You could use that heal to good effect if you are finding the later stages more difficult. There is also the AGL Bojack. He's super outdated, definitely needs an easy A now. But if you're running the STR one and you don't have the LR, you could run them together and he could still do some reasonable damage, I suppose. Then all the cells, I didn't really mention any of them apart from just briefly then mentioning the LR. They're all a little bit outdated now, but you could potentially use them. This Golden Frieza is a stacker that builds up over time, so he's definitely not better than any of the ones that we mentioned already. And then, yeah, other than that, like, physical, I didn't mention too many units because you have type disadvantage. Like, this Frieza, again, is a unit that builds up over time. Or you could just transform him straight away on turn 1 and potentially do some decent damage. So he could be an honourable mention, but obviously he does have type disadvantage. So there you go. Those are the top picks and honourable mentions for a full power team. I skipped over Golden Cooler as well, but I mean, he's getting his easy A this year. He's not very good defensively, and he doesn't get his full potential if you don't have heroes units on the team. But he is a support unit, so you could run him. But there you go. Those are the full power top picks and honourable mentions. Like I said at the beginning, if there's any units that you think I should have talked about that I didn't, or that I should have talked about in more detail, maybe I missed one of the reasons why they would be so good for the team, let us know down below in the comments section. And also let me know which team you are going to use to take on this event. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.